Hey everyone, I'm just going to give everybody a second to log in and then we're going to get started. All right. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's webinar, co-hosted by NYOUG, the New York Oracle User Group, and Oracle partner Viscosity North America. Today's webinar is from our Oracle Level Up series, featuring product managers from the Oracle Enterprise and Cloud Observability and Management team. And so this is a live webinar if you've joined us before. So feel free to submit questions in the Q&A field, and our speaker and some of his coworkers will get back to you as they can. Our speaker today is Aaron Rimel, and he is from the Oracle Enterprise Management and Product Management team. He'll be sharing his slide deck with us. We are recording today's webinar, so no worries if you've got to jump early. NYOUG and Viscosity both will share access to those items after we get everything uploaded. So again, I'm hoping to see a lot of awesome questions from the audience today. So make sure you see where that Q&A field is, not the chat field, and their team will get to you as they can, moderating or typing back to you with your answers. All right. Let's see, where's my cursor? Okay, so my name is Monica. I'm the marketing director at Viscosity North America. We've normally got some awesome volunteers from NYOUG with us during the series, but today I'm going to be presenting for them just to tell you a little bit about the NYOUG. They are a group founded in 1984 for the exchange of ideas, assistance, and support among users of Oracle software products. The organization consists solely of volunteers, consultants, and vendors of Oracle-related products and services. So if you're interested in volunteering, I'm sure they'd be happy to hear from you. They also offer individual, corporate, and educational or nonprofit membership plans. So check out nyoug.org if any of that interests you. You can find more information on membership there, and we can also send you those items after this webinar today. Feel free to follow NYOUG online. They are on Twitter or X, Meetup, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course, again, their website, nyoug.org. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Viscosity real quick, and then I'll hand it over to our dear friend and the person who started this whole series with NYOUG and Viscosity, Steve Lemmy. He's going to introduce their team and today's speaker to you. But real quick, because I know you're so excited for a short sales pitch. Viscosity North America, we are a consulting firm consulting on the full Oracle stack with core expertise in Oracle database, including RAC, Oracle Apex. We perform near zero downtime migrations for our customers, tons of performance tuning and high availability projects under our belt. Also, tons of webinar and resources that you can find through us for free. And we've got decades of experience with infrastructure, including engineered systems. We were actually named Oracle Partner of the Year for Oracle Database Appliances. We're very proud of that and the solutions we've brought to our customers with that product. So we have been getting all of our customers up to 19C and 23C. So hopefully you guys are there. And if not, talk to me. So hopefully I can also see you later this week. I've got a 23C preparing for 23C webinar with some folks from Oracle, as well as some Oracle ACEs. All right, so this slide right here, you'll just see that Viscosity is built on these three main pillars: data, apps, and infrastructure. Across the bottom, a variety of services that apply to all three pillars. So if anything here speaks to you, or if you guys have any pain points on any of these topics, just let me know. but I'm gonna kind of blow through these as quick as I can so you guys can get the good content. Oracle ACEs, if you're not familiar with the ACE program, it is created by Oracle, and they award certain tiers of titles to different folks in the Oracle community that do not work for Oracle, based on the type of content and amount of content, I guess, that they share with the Oracle community. So we are very proud to have several Oracle ACEs on our team, helping our clients and also speaking at user group conferences globally. I guess I should say globally. You can find them. They write a lot of books, they blog, all the things. So we're super happy to have them out there promoting Oracle products. Okay, on this page, just a couple things to highlight in an easier format. So zero downtime migrations, health checks. We do offer managed services and Oracle license management if you need help. We work with both Oracle and clients all day long on license management. So if it's something that's a little more of a headache for your team, assuming you don't have to deal with it often, I'd always recommend going to a partner like Viscosity, whether it's us or not. Okay, some of the books to highlight. Our newest books are going to be Oracle on Docker, Oracle Database Performance Tuning for 19 and 23C, as well as upgrading Oracle databases. Okay, and with that, I'm pretty much done. Orapub.com is actually where you can find all of our free webinars in one place. You can create a free membership here, and you'll have access to watch tons of recordings, including these Level Up series webinars we've been doing. So I highly recommend going over there. Once we get today's webinar uploaded, it will also be here as well as nyoug.org. And on Orapub, you'll see the slide deck sitting next to each webinar. We've also got paid tiers that give you a couple extra tools, but overall, I think all you need to know is free membership gets you tons of information, lots of resources. There are live virtual classes there. If you're familiar with Craig Shallyhammer, this is actually a training company he created long ago, and it's now part of the Viscosity family for the last 2 years. So it's an awesome, awesome platform, tons of free stuff. So go over there, make your account, and start digging around. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Steve, who's also presenting for us. Is it in a week or in 2 weeks, Steve?
Yep, I think it's in a week. I think it's the
Next Tuesday?
23rd. Yep.
Awesome. So I hope you guys come back out. If you haven't signed up for that webinar, you can do so at events.viscosityna.com or through NYOUG. And if you receive their emails, you can find a link there as well. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Steve and Aaron and get you guys going.
Well, thank you so much, Monica. And again, this is Steve Lemmy with Oracle on the Observability and Management Enterprise Manager Product Management team. We really appreciate New York Oracle user group's time and opportunity to speak with you. We know that you're busy professionals and you don't necessarily have the time, for instance, to make it out events like Cloud World this past year in Vegas. So we've been cherry picking some of our top speakers and topic matter. And if you're one of those individuals that a technology professional that is kind of tired of the finger pointing when everyone says, oh, there's a performance issue with the application or the database, or you have found that the existing tools in your arsenal that you've collected the past 20 years just aren't quite working for your applications when you move them onto cloud, or the ones you're building cloud natively, well, this session is for you. So Aaron Rimel, who is with me today, is one of our foremost experts on this subject matter, and he's going to talk to you about some best practices and some technology that can help you. Over to you, Aaron.
Hello. Hey, first of all, a big thank you to NYOG and Viscosity for having us here today. We really appreciate this opportunity. But happy Tuesday, and like I said, I'm Aaron Rimel. We also have Anna McCollum on the line here. We're product managers with observability and management, and we're here to also answer your questions along the way. So please post those in the chat throughout the presentation, and this fabulous team here will be able to help get those questions answered for you. And if we can't, we'll take it back and get back with you on another day. But regardless, get them out there. So with that being said, let's get down to it. Welcome to the Do This, Not That, the top 10 tips to monitor Oracle database, WebLogic, and more. So I want to begin first by giving you a brief overview so you have the necessary context to understand where our presentation falls into all of what Oracle offers. So within Oracle's Observability Management Service, it's a cloud-native platform that brings together all the telemetry, traces, metrics, and logs for monitoring and analysis. Our solution consists of integrated services that can monitor your resources across a hybrid and multi-cloud environment. In this session, what we're going to do is we're going to focus primarily on OCI stack monitoring. So you're here to get the best practice tips for monitoring your WebLogic servers, Oracle databases, and most likely hosts and other apps that are running in your data center. This is across different OCI services. We recommend beginning your monitoring journey with stack monitoring to focus on meeting the monitoring essentials. Understand what's running in your environment. Are your resources up? How do you know if there are performance problems? Is the performance expected or is it anomalous? Are you maxed out on CPU, memory, or storage? So stack monitoring lets you proactively monitor an application and its underlying application stack, including application server, databases, and hosts. And you can easily set up monitoring in just a few minutes, leveraging the single-click discovery UI that discovers a complete application stack and its topology. We'll provide curated metrics for each resource type and built-in monitoring UIs to allow you to quickly monitor after discovery. And one of our key monitoring UIs is called the Stack View. Stack View enables quick assessment of application health, such as EBS or PeopleSoft. It shows that applications' key load and response metrics and performance and utilization metrics from the app servers, databases, and hosts, all in a single consolidated view. And then using machine learning, stack monitoring can auto-detect baselines for key performance metrics and show performance anomalies in the charts. And then using our extensibility solution, you can monitor anything, including custom metrics and new resource types. Alarms is an important part of monitoring. And so from there, we offer a best practice recommendation on setting up alarms for each resource type. And finally, stack monitoring can monitor your resources across your hybrid environment. It can be running in OCI, on-premise, or some other cloud provider.
Hey, Aaron, can I provide one tip?
Sure.
You've got a lot of great items you're going to cover here, but that one that's kind of buried in a bullet, if you just go back on that slide, I know as a DBA, it took me weeks, if not months, to figure out how to get monitoring set up, running, and the business was banging at my door waiting for me to do it. That one little bullet that says monitoring starts after discovery. If folks learn one thing during this session, I think that one bullet will save them an immense amount of time. So I just wanted to point that out as a tip.
Perfect. Thank you. So to start monitoring, we use a one-click onboarding wizard, which sets up required policies and the groups. And at the end of the onboarding, you'll end up with 2 distinct user groups to get you started. So you would use this stack monitoring admin group for users whose responsibility is to perform discovery and alarm setup, and then use the viewer group for those users who monitor status and the health of resources. And while we were sitting here and I was covering this quick little slide, you can see on the right, this was a real-time view of enabling the stack monitoring service inside of an OCI compartment. So many of the discovery and support SRs are the results of missed prerequisite steps. Our best practice for discovery is outlined in our documentation and some how-to videos. But here are some key prerequisites to be aware of. So let's start with host monitoring. With the agent installed on hosts, stack monitoring identifies these hosts as ready for promotion. So what promotion means is it's ready to enable host monitoring. And then you would use this one-click promotion UI to verify the resource name matches the host's fully qualified domain name. Or alternatively, you can even enable host auto promotion within a compartment. And that allows all those hosts in which an agent is installed to automatically discover, automatically begin monitoring as soon as that agent is installed, and there's nothing more for you to have to do. And after discovery, host monitoring begins. So it just, as soon as you get done, we immediately begin collecting metrics. For database systems, once again, ensure you have that monitoring agent installed on every host in the database cluster. Then follow the documentation for agent prerequisites. And this includes granting execute privileges to the management agent user on the DB system Oracle home. Other prerequisites include creating the additional policies to allow the agent to upload metrics to the DB system namespace and allow the stack monitoring administrators, that allows the stack monitoring administrators the ability to go create, update, delete those DB system resources. And then when configuring the monitoring user, say DBS and MP, when configuring the monitoring, you can use DBS and MP, or we also have a MOS note that I've provided here on the screen where you can go create a custom user that gives you, you can more define those privileges that you assign to that user. To understand the performance of a WebLogic server, okay, first ensure that agent is installed on the host, and then follow the documentation for assistance configuring SSL. In order to collect WebLogic JVM performance metrics from platform MBeams, you've got to go in, you've got to get the MBeams must be made accessible via the runtime MBeam server. And to do that, you activate the MBeams by logging into your Oracle WebLogic server, verify that activation before proceeding with discovery. And a WebLogic discovery in stack monitoring will automatically discover many of the applications that are running in WebLogic. For example, if SOA, Service-Oriented Architecture, OHS, Oracle HTTP Server, Oracle Identity Manager, Oracle Access Manager, if those are running inside of your WebLogic cluster, performing a WebLogic discovery will automatically discover all of those resources and then build the relationships between those resources and the WebLogic servers. If you're discovering a resource like Managed File Transfer, MFT, it's discovered independently. So whenever you discover MFT, then it will automatically discover WebLogic for you. When performing an EBS discovery, once again, start with promoting all the hosts on that EBS application to full monitoring. Next, discover the Oracle database system, including the container DB, the pluggable DB. Next, using the database monitoring user, apply those necessary grants so that monitoring user can read the EBS schema. Then, similar to WebLogic, the MBeams must be made accessible via the runtime MBeam server. When discovering EBS, stack monitoring will discover that entire EBS application, including its components like the concurrent manager, or the WebLogic domain, cluster, servers, etc. And then another cool feature is many times after the fact, once you have your EBS system discovered, your EBS application discovered, you'll switch between, say, patching file system 1 or patching file system 2. And to refresh that configuration, there's a button in the UI where you simply press that button and it will go and update stack monitoring to the new configuration, the new file system that's being used in the Oracle home that's in use. When discovering an application, it's completed in this recommended order. So first, begin by enabling monitoring on the hosts after agent deployment. And as a reminder, enabling host auto promotion, that's going to save you time. Next, discover your entire Oracle database system, including your DB system, ASM, cluster, container DB, pluggable DB. And finally, your packaged applications, such as Golden Gate, or application servers, including WebLogic and Tomcat. During discovery, apply any applicable tags. And this could be the built-in ones, like the Oracle standard tags, that let you designate a resource as production, or go create a custom tag to help meet your organization's unique needs. You can monitor the status of the discovery job until it completes. And once the discovery job completes, navigate to that resource's homepage to complete the application topology by associating the host with the application. So now with your application discovered and the navigational topology created, the last step is to configure monitoring. So at the end of all of this, on success, you end up with application components have been discovered, your application's navigational topology has been created, and the entire application stack is now being monitored. So in large organizations, you may need to have more fine-grained control over your area of responsibility. For example, your DBAs, they should have full privileges over the database, but likely they probably only need view access to the middleware resources. And the middleware admins, they should have full privileges to the middleware resources, but they should probably only have view access to the database. So this access model can be defined using a combination of both policies and tags. So first, you would use tags to define the environment, right? Those are Oracle standard tags I just spoke of, and label them as production, test, etc. As well as add tiers. Label it as a database or middleware. And remember to associate these tags during discovery. But if you forget, it's super easy to do in the resource homepages. So next, create policies to define the appropriate access to the relevant subset of resources, like databases or middleware, which in turn are identified by tags. So here's an example of policies for production DBAs where they have manage access on databases and read access on middleware. And here we have policies for production middleware admins where they have read access on databases and manage access on middleware. And again, these policies can all then be tweaked to even more fine-grained between production and test and development, etc. So start with your host. Don't wait for an incident to occur. Use the host homepage to monitor a host's health and performance. If the status is not reporting, it generally means the agent hasn't sent any status data to the host. And then use the use the homepage to view the status of the agent itself. And then we give you this little breadcrumb that you can click to take you to the agent homepage to go further triage why that agent's not reporting. If the host is up, you can use the homepage to review any open alarms, assess resource usage. Is the host maxed out on CPU or memory? Are the file systems nearing capacity? You can easily adjust those time periods to identify when resource usage has started to increase. And if the host's CPU or memory is maxed out, you can use the homepage's navigational topology to see what is running on that host and drill down into that application's homepage. And if the host is an OCI compute instance, you can use the link in the OCI compute homepage to adjust the image size if needed. I'm going to show you that here in just a bit. It's one of my favorite features.
Hey, Aaron, can I interject for a moment? If
Sure.
you just go back, because again, you've gone over an area which is very important. So a lot of the monitoring we talk to customers that they're doing today, an incident has occurred. And so the analogy I typically use, Aaron, is, you've unfortunately had some, catastrophic health event. Now the doctor is trying to save you. It has happened. The incident has happened. That is most monitoring today. It's reactive. But with observability that we're talking about, that is where you're looking at all the key components. It's kind of like the health checks you get from your doctor, your cholesterol check, your blood check, your physical annually. Along the way, you're looking at all the critical components. You're observing them to make sure you don't have an incident. And it's so important, Aaron. I mention this because we have so many folks who have, a lot of different monitoring tools, and they're being told they're also observability tools, and that's not quite the case.
Very true. Thanks, Steve. So focusing on the vital signs, it's important to monitor vital signs or key aspects of system health and not look at a bunch of metrics all at once, right? In stack monitoring, we monitor these vital signs as curated metrics covering availability status, load, response, utilization, and error. Here we show some of these key metrics for EBS, WebLogic, and the Oracle database, where the full list is in our documentation. With this in mind, we've built the enterprise summary to show you those key vital signs across each tier. Applications, including EBS and PeopleSoft, App Server, Database, and Host. And within each of those tiers, performance charts allow you to correlate load and response across all resources. You can see resources with the highest utilization or errors. And later in this presentation, I'll give you a demo of how you can use the enterprise summary. When monitoring an application such as eBusiness Suite, it's important to take a look at the big picture. StackView provides this big picture by enabling you to assess the overall health of an application and its tech stack. This is simple when triaging application performance issues, allowing visibility into the entire application stack. Here we show the eBusiness Suite view, and starting with EBS, you can track programs with the highest running time, status of completed concurrent requests, and find out if there's any long-running concurrent requests. And if there are issues, you can review the rest of the app stack, the WebLogic, database, and host, all in that single view. For example, here we can see a spike in completed recurrent requests with errors. And at the same time, the JVM heap memory increased, and the JDBC connections took longer to create. Additionally, we see that the memory on the host is almost fully consumed. At this point, we should investigate if we need to increase memory on the host and possibly the JVM heap size. So all status and performance metrics are stored in OCI monitoring. This is the service that's used to generate alarms. And when creating alarm rules to generate alarms, it's important to understand the metric namespace and the resource group associated with the metrics for your resource type. For example, to find host metrics, we would use the Oracle App Management namespace and the resource group of host. Or to find WebLogic server metrics, use the Oracle App Management namespace once again, but this time choose the resource group of WebLogic J2EE server. Oracle database metrics, those are stored in Oracle OCI database namespace. The listener, ASM, and other related resources, those are all stored in Oracle OCI database cluster namespace with the corresponding resource groups. So for a full list of all the metric namespaces and all these resource groups, take a look at our documentation. So let's look at alarm rule creation. To create alarm rules in OCI monitoring, here are some of the best practice recommendations. When choosing the metric name, apply what you've learned regarding metric namespaces and resource groups. Ensure the interval is greater than or equal to the collection frequency of the metric. Include the resource name as a dimension. This ensures the rule will get triggered one alarm per resource. And when specifying a threshold, use the trigger rule chart. That'll help review the alarm threshold against the metric values to ensure it's going to trigger at the appropriate time. So here's some recommended metrics and their corresponding alarm thresholds for host, Oracle database, and WebLogic servers. These are all part of our best practice alarm rule recommendations, but for a complete list, once again, see the documentation. But something I kind of want to highlight here is whenever we're looking at availability status, whether that's your host, Oracle database, WebLogic server, all of these, it doesn't matter. Not only do you want to monitor for, is my host down? Is my WebLogic server or concurrent manager down, etc.? But am I also, or am I getting an absence of data? And that's where you can see that the MQL here, where I'm saying, is the resource down? Or am I getting an absence of data? Because if you're getting an absence of data, you don't know if it's up. You don't know if it's down. You don't know if you're having CPU issues. And for that reason, we kind of give it that same level of criticality as if it were down. So in my 15 years managing a barrage of production systems, I spent a lot of time triaging a wide range of applications. And funny thing, I mean, it didn't matter what system I was investigating, and I'm sure yours is the same way, that the process is almost always the same. And that's monitoring by exception. I also like to say one of these things is not like the other, kind of compare it. So let's see how you can do the investigation using the enterprise summary and the stack monitoring troubleshooting workflow. So we're going to give you a kind of a walkthrough of using the enterprise summary and some modeling some troubleshooting workflows for you. All right, so let's begin. This is our enterprise summary. So let's begin by identifying the number of resources that are down or not reporting of all your monitored resources. So here we can see that we've got 7 resources that are down and 5 resources that are not reporting. Next, using the legend within the status by resource type, we can apply a filter to identify resources that are down by resource type. So this is great, but you fully understand what resources are down here. So then we move over to status by resource type. And by clicking down, it applies a filter and now gives us, here we can easily view a count of application servers that are down, or how many components of that EBS application are down. And then clicking on any of these bars will invoke a slide out to display the resource name and a link to the homepage for further triage. Clicking Show All removes that filter and puts everything back to where it was. Stack monitoring also summarizes all the open alarms across all of your monitored resources. So clicking on a count of critical alarms, once again, gives us a slide out, but this time it shows us additional alarm details, including the alarm name, severity, and the trigger time. This information can be helpful to like DevOps teams so they can kind of prioritize their work. They can get an understanding of everything that's critical or warnings, etc. As we discussed earlier in the presentation, the Enterprise Summary provides access to key performance indicators across each of the application tiers, whether it's the application layer like EBS or PeopleSoft, but it also provides a heat map where each plot point represents a unique resource. Here, okay, so let's scroll down. So here we can see that while the majority of these resources are using quite a bit of memory, only one of them is using almost 100% of its memory and swap. So while scatter plots are really great at comparing any of these two metrics, they don't show you that performance over time. So to meet this need, the Enterprise Summary displays historical performance of any resource by clicking the plot point. So now let's expand this from last 60 minutes. We can go to the last 14 days. Let's see how bad this thing has been going for the last 2 weeks. Here we can see that the memory utilization has been consistent over the last 14 days. Clicking the resource name at the top then navigates us to that resource's homepage for additional investigation. We click the link, and now we're here at the homepage. From this homepage, we can gain that additional information to the health and the performance of the host. We'll scroll down. The performance charts can help determine if something is new has caused the increased memory utilization, or if current performance has really persisted. And the utilization of CPU, memory, and file system here all appear to be consistent. Nothing really seems to be changing. So since the high utilization doesn't appear to be a sudden change, maybe it makes sense to go adjust this. So we'll go up to the top of the page. And if it's an OCI compute instance, Stack Monitoring provides that navigational link to the compute instance homepage. So we'll clicking this opens a new tab in the OCI compute instance homepage. So from here, we can easily take action. We can come in here, we can click this, and we can adjust the size of the OCI compute instance. And for me, this is a huge thing because I remember when VMs were here to save the world and we were going to be able to no longer take these long ticket times of adding memory or CPU to a physical server. And VMs were changing this because it's going to be more dynamic, but it was never the case. And here, because it's embedded in OCI, you're able to just quickly move from finding a host using high memory all the way to editing its shape to go add that memory. I mean, I just think of the weeks it used to take for me to get these things solved. So I get distracted because I love these little embedded features. But before we take any action, let's identify what's running on this host. So we'll return to stack monitoring. And from here, we'll click on related resources. So related resources informs you of what's running on the host and provides you that navigational topology to those resources. So for this screen alone, we can understand that we see that this has a PeopleSoft application running on it, a pluggable DB, a container DB, and a WebLogic server are all running on this host. So there's actually no wonder why this thing is strapped for memory. And clicking on the application name will take you to that PeopleSoft's application homepage. So here we are, we've seen this, we click on this, and it will take us to the PeopleSoft homepage. And then we talked about the stack view where we can jump in and take a quick look. So earlier we discussed the stack view gives you that overall big picture of the PeopleSoft or EBS application by enabling you to assess the overall health of the application and its tech stack. So let's expand this from 60 minutes to 7 days. Now let's take a closer look at the stack view to understand if the host's high memory and swap is impacting the performance of the overall PeopleSoft application. So at least we know that we can see that the overall health and system load of the application server domain here is okay. While the overall health of the application server domain and PIA has remained okay, the WebLogic web request rate has slowly increased over the last 7 days. The web request processing time has increased just a bit. The overall active thread pool threads and, excuse me, the overall active thread pool threads has remained pretty consistent, and there doesn't appear to be any hogging threads or work manager stuck threads. And the Oracle database doesn't appear to be too busy, and wait times are relatively low. And then down below, we can see the hosts, where we can once again see CPU utilization has been consistent, and memory utilization is once again near 100%. So let's scroll back up. But since this host runs an entire PeopleSoft application, it doesn't make sense to go make system changes in the middle of the day. It's not feasible. So what we need to do, we need to continue to monitor the web request rate closely until we can add that extra memory in overnight or a scheduled downtime. So we'll scroll to the top. To keep an eye on the web request rate, we can temporarily customize the enterprise summary. So we click here, go to stack monitoring, takes us back to the enterprise summary. Let's scroll down to app server. So let's convert this WebLogic scatterplot table to easily watch our specific WebLogic server until we can add host memory. To edit it, we'll click a pencil icon in the top right of the WebLogic web request rate chart. Now let's update the type so first we expand chart, and then we're going to update the type from chart to table. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to enable advanced features. And by default, the highest 4 web request rates will be shown. But since we're here, let's go ahead and expand this to 10. Change the 4 to 10, and then we'll apply our change. We can now easily keep an eye on our PeopleSoft HCM WebLogic request rate. So here it is. And clicking the value of any of these ops per minute, specifically our PeopleSoft HCM that we're interested in, will again invoke that slide out to give us that historical context of if it's increasing. So let's do a quick recap. We navigated to the enterprise summary where we identified a single host that was consuming nearly 100% of memory and swap. And from there, we clicked the plot point and determined there hasn't been a change in utilization over the last couple of weeks. We navigated to the host homepage and reviewed other vital signs. We then clicked a link that opened a new tab into the OCI Compute Infrastructure homepage, where we can go and edit the shape and add additional memory. Excuse me. But prior to taking any action, we identified what resources were running on the host, determined it was used by PeopleSoft, and then leveraged the topology to navigate to the PeopleSoft homepage to understand that overall health and performance of the overall PeopleSoft application. Using the stack view, we identified a steady increase in web request rate, and now we plan to add additional memory to the host after hours, but until then we customize the enterprise summary to display the web request rate per server until we have an appropriate time to add that additional memory. But one of my favorite parts about this is we never searched for a resource. We never typed a resource name. We just simply leveraged Stack Monitoring's navigational and troubleshooting workflows that helped us easily move between those pages to triage and provide context to that high memory utilization we saw there on the enterprise summary. So that being said, let's return to the presentation to learn about some of the advanced functions inside of Stack Monitoring. For key performance metrics, Stack Monitoring will automatically calculate its baseline behavior, like that expected range of values for metrics. If a metric is outside of the baseline, this will be flagged as anomalous in the charts. That'll help us easily identify if behavior is different and could be the sign of potential problems. So here on the screen, we've got a picture of CPU utilization on one of our servers, and it has gone outside of its norm and is clearly visible by all of the orange plot points that indicate that there's anomalous behavior. So far, we've talked about monitoring features in Stack Monitoring, but we also likely know that you'll want to enhance or extend monitoring to meet your unique IT requirements. So let's start with adding custom metrics, which we refer to as metric extensions. Metric extensions extend that out-of-box metric set provided by Stack Monitoring to meet the use cases required when monitoring unique IT environments. So here's an example. In my previous life as a DBA, which feels like ages ago, I frequently leverage custom metrics to meet unique business requirements. One example, as a proactive measure, I had a set of DBMS jobs that had to be executed on every one of my databases on a particular schedule. I leveraged custom metrics to alert me if any of my databases had a job that wasn't scheduled that should have been, or wasn't running on a specific cadence. So using a metric extension such as this, it reduced my time. I no longer had to log in and check DBMS jobs of my 50 or 60, I can't remember how many databases I had, but it was a bunch. Instead, what this did is it freed me up, allowing me to spend more time improving performance instead of, is my DBMS job scheduled? But this is just one unique business requirement that was met using custom metrics. So I'll provide a demonstration on how to create a metric extension here shortly. But first, let's review the process. The first step is to define a metric extension. To create a metric extension, you first begin by defining the metric query or script to be used. And then next, using the UI, specify the name, the resource type, the collection method, the script, and other details I described a bit earlier. But once a metric extension has been defined, it's time to create and test that metric extension. And creating a metric extension saves that metric. From this point, you may continue to develop it or leave and come back later to continue where you left off. But remember, it's important to always test a metric extension against a non-production resource. During this phase, the metric is deployed to the management agent, and the command is then executed, and the results are sent back to OCI and retrieved for display in the UI. During this test phase, review the results of your metric extension. If you're unsatisfied with the results, you can continue to edit the command or update the script and then retest the metric extension on the same resource or on a new resource. Just remembering to always test against non-production resources. But once you're satisfied with the results, it's time to publish the metric extension. A published metric extension is ready for general consumption. And as a result, the metric can no longer be edited. Enabling the metric extension is the final step. And when enabling the metric extension on a resource, the metric extension will be pushed to the management agent and immediately begin collecting metric data. Stack monitoring will then automatically show that metric extension chart on all the resource home pages that alarm's been configured on. So let's see a demonstration on how this is done. All right, so to create a metric extension, it doesn't matter, like the Zoom controls are always in my way. To create a metric extension, we'll begin by navigating to the metric extensions page. So that's down here, and then we'll click Create Metric Extension. This slide out helps guide us through that process of creating a metric extension, where we'll first enter the name of the metric, and then we'll give it a nice, pretty name. So we'll give it wait time. Next, we can provide a description, but since we're just here for a demonstration, I'll skip that for now, and we'll move down to the resource type. So we'll update the resource type from host to non-container DB, and then we're going to update the collection method from OS command to SQL. Now let's update the collection frequency from, let's go from 15 minutes, let's run it every 5 minutes. For the SQL query, we can either type our query in here, or we can upload a query. Since it's generally easier to upload, we'll go ahead and say we want to upload the SQL and then drag and drop the file here. So with the SQL file uploaded, it's time to define the metrics and dimensions. Our script returns 3 columns: instance name, wait class, and wait time. We're going to define each of these columns. So think of it like this. A dimension is kind of it's like a qualifier of a metric, where you might have a file system of U01, and that's your dimension. But the utilization rate of like 80%, that's your metric portion. So metric extensions have to be need to be defined in this same kind of category, where a metric always must be a numeric value, and a dimension can be either numeric or or a string. So let's scroll down. Let's begin by creating our first dimension. So we're going to have instance name, give it another pretty name, instance name. This is, the instance name is a dimension, and it will have a value of string. And then we're going to add another dimension. Give it a name, wait class. And yes, wait class is a dimension, and it is a value of string. All right. And with our dimensions out of the way, we can now add the metric. So we'll click the same button, add metric, and now we'll give it a name. So here we've got DB wait time. DB wait time. This time it is not a dimension, so that stays no, and you'll see that this defaults to number. So all of that's taken care of for you. And we'll give it a unit value of DB wait time. Let's give it in seconds. Okay. So with the metric and the dimensions now defined, it's now time to create and then test our metric extension. So we click create and test. All right, we see that our metric extension has been successfully created. And as we said, this is the point where, you can go off, go do other things, come back, because at this point, the metric extension has been saved. So to test it, we're going to select a resource from the dropdown and then click test. Testing a metric extension can take a few minutes. Remember, it's going to push that data all the way to the management agent, collect the information, and then send it back to OCI. But once the test completes, the results will be displayed. And here we can see wait times of each database instance and its name and its corresponding wait class. If we're unsatisfied with this, we talked about this, we can come in and we can update and change that metric query. And then we can keep retesting until our results look good. These results look good, so we're ready to publish our metric. Now, this pop-up is a check to ensure you wish to publish the metric. Remember, once it's been published, you cannot edit this metric. So we're ready. We're going to go ahead and publish. All right. So our metric extension has been published. We can see it both up here and down here. With the metric published, it's now time to enable the metric on an Oracle database. So we're going to click the action button, come over here to enable. All right. Now we'll select resources, and we'll select an Oracle database, and then click enable on selected resource. So we're once again asked to verify we wish to enable this metric extension on the selected resources. We click enable. It's executing, and it's successful. All right. So we can close out this. Now, once we return to the page, we can now see that our metric extension is in a published status, and it's been enabled on one resource. And then clicking on that one will open up a slide out and will give us the list. So if we have enabled this on 50 or 100 databases, those would all be listed here. Then clicking, just as we've always have, clicking on this resource name will then navigate us to that resources homepage. All right, let's return to the presentation. Stack monitoring allows for that single click discovery of an entire EBS application stack, right? We talked about that. And the discovery automatically creates that application topology or those association between the components. But this topology can then be used to understand the overall health of an application and provide that navigation across the application stack. However, EBS, PeopleSoft, et cetera, it's much more than just a WebLogic server and an Oracle database. Stack monitoring's extensibility features also allow for monitoring from other services to be consolidated by importing those resources into Stack monitoring. Importing resources into Stack monitoring allows for the application's topology to be completed by creating associations between the imported resources and those existing Stack monitoring resources. This reduces that troubleshooting time by providing access to all resources and their availability and performance metrics of an entire application stack. This includes the load balancer, application servers, databases, even storage in a single place. And once a resource has been imported, Stack monitoring will then create that homepage with availability and performance metrics and configuration details and report those open alarms. And just like with OCI, where we gave you that little breadcrumb that takes you to the OCI homepage if you need to go make changes, for the load balancer, storage, et cetera, we'll once again create that little breadcrumb that will take you back to that other OCI services homepage to help make that triage or adding storage or adjusting load balancer easy. But what if there's some custom resource types that you want to monitor? You can use our Prometheus-based integration for this. So assuming there's Prometheus-based endpoints that expose those metrics for this resource, you can use Prometheus integration to query these metrics and create resource instances inside of Stack Monitoring. Then similar to other resources, you'll be able to monitor the resource with its pre-built homepage, associate it with other resources, and create alarms on its metrics. Another way to monitor custom apps is through process monitoring features. You can create a custom app by identifying the processes that make up the application. Once identified, Stack Monitoring will create a new resource instance for this homepage, for this app, and start monitoring its status and resource utilization. You can monitor the app using its pre-built homepage and also associate it with other resources. You can also use the OCI monitoring to create alarm rules, and when the app is not running, or has high resource usage. But there may be requirements to create, new UIs for various stakeholders. And you can do this using dashboards. And with dashboards, you can unify these metrics, traces, and logs by using data from Stack Monitoring and other OCI services, such as APM or logging analytics. You can start with one of the pre-built dashboards. For instance, like the Stack Monitoring Host Fleet View dashboards, or the EBS suite, or PeopleSoft dashboard. And if changes are needed to the pre-built dashboard, simply clone it. Add the additional widgets that you need. So I want to tell you, don't forget to subscribe via RSS to our observability management blogs. We frequently publish on topics covering application performance management, database monitoring and management, logging, and complete Stack Monitoring. You can find us on X, formerly Twitter, and look for us in LinkedIn, where we keep you up to date with learning opportunities such as these. But be in the know. Stack Monitoring continues to release new features and support for new resources all the time. To keep up with what's new, scan this QR code. The QR code provides a link to our doc, release notes, blogs, and our live labs. The Stack Monitoring Live Labs provides you access where you can try out Stack Monitoring in our demo environment. But that's it. That's what I have for us today. We have plenty of time to answer some additional questions. I'm in no hurry. So if you have some, please let me know what questions you might have.
Aaron, great job. You've got lots of great questions that have been coming in, and I encourage folks to keep asking those questions. One that's come up several times is about Enterprise Manager. And again, as we've been responding to the question, we have, of course, our flagship product, Oracle Enterprise Manager, which continues on. In fact, the next release is being worked on as we speak, EM24C, whole other separate subject matter that our customers install, manage themselves, and use to manage the Oracle stack. Now, we've been offering the observability and management solution line, which is all cloud-based management. You don't manage that. You don't patch it. We do all that work for you. And in fact, as new features and support are being added to services like OCI Stack Monitoring, customers benefit from that because of the subscription. So those are two now separate solutions available. One doesn't necessarily replace the other. So several questions about that, Aaron. Maybe there's a couple other nuances you want to kind of point out to help folks, make their decision.
I think you've covered it pretty well. Oracle continues to heavily invest in Enterprise Manager. It's a fabulous product, and I'm as a customer, I used it for years and loved it. Stack Monitoring is more of an OCI cloud native service in that it's just a subscription based and there's not a lot of setup. So both are great products. That's just dependent on how you want to use it.
Well, the other thing is agility. I know that when I was using Enterprise Manager, especially in a large enterprise, there was a lot of methodology that I was using and a number of people working with me to do that. But now today's activities that developers and DevOps are doing, I mean, happens in minutes, not days, not weeks. And so literally I can go, I know, and invoke OCI stack monitoring or any of the other services in a matter of minutes and start monitoring. And so again, it's kind of based upon what are your requirements for your role? What are the requirements for your business? The other aspect folks may not know, Aaron, because I spoke to some folks at Cloud World who told us, hey, how long have you had this and things like that, is the services like stack monitoring available from Oracle Cloud now are already pre-integrated. So simply you're going into the OCI console and you're subscribing to a service. And as you add the services, they share data. They have a shared data model. They build upon each other. And I mentioned that, Aaron, because as you mentioned as well, being someone in the role of IT, there was all the other nuances of you happen to putting together a lot of the scripts and glue yourself to put some of those older kind of monitoring tools, technologies together. And the O&M solutions make that much easier, like stack monitoring. Well, I think we've got time still for just a few more questions, Aaron. So again, use the Q&A panel. If you've got some questions, please. And again, for those who have asked questions, thank you so much. Some great questions today. And Aaron, some great content.
Well, I once again, thank you, NYOG and Viscosity, for having us here today. We really appreciate this opportunity. And if you guys have questions after the fact, please reach out to us. We're happy to continue and, help
Hey, Eric.
help learn and educate and et cetera. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, before we leave, do you want to just show the live labs and maybe the blogs? I think, Steve, you posted blogs, but I don't know if the blog site had issues or something, just to show them just an idea of some of the information you can get via blogs. And for those of you that are new to the O&M services, the live lab, thank you. Yeah, so if you want to just try it out, what is can I test out these features that Aaron is talking about? Okay, Aaron, you can show them, right? Give it a try. We do have this environment where you can test out these features yourself. So Aaron, if you want to talk to it for a minute or so.
Sure.
And how they get here.
Ultimately, what Live Labs does is it gives you a walkthrough of how to use some troubleshooting workflows. It helps educate you on how a discovery takes place, et cetera, but it happens inside of my environment. So there's nothing for you to set up. You simply click the start button. It gives you some credentials that are good for, I can't remember, it's like 2 hours. And then you can get in and either follow that script and go, or go in and kind of kick the tires and look around. Either way, it gets you into my environment and lets you have an understanding of the product. And of course, following the script will help you understand how all the different features work. But it's also kind of a choose your own adventure. So if there's some parts in there, you don't have to spend an hour and 6 minutes going through this thing. You can decide that you want to skip a section or something. So it's kind of up to you.
The other thing, Aaron, is for folks, not only can you benefit from Live Labs, is you can contact your account rep and they will come out and do a Live Labs activity for your team. So, you're just one person and you're challenged, in your job role. Well, here's how to benefit the rest of your organization. So, just contact your representative and say, hey, saw this, great session by Aaron, and we'd like to learn more about these products on our site. And the account team can help set that up using Live Labs. So licensing is always a popular question, Aaron. And again, we got some great questions related to it. Does stack monitoring require some additional database or app licenses to view all of the monitoring? And again, people are kind of thinking along the lines of Enterprise Manager. It has its packs. And what you were just showing, for instance, Aaron, for PeopleSoft, for EBS, is that just subscribing to the service, or there are extra things people have to get? They want to know.
That's what makes it kind of easy, is just you just subscribe to it, and go in. Once you discover a resource, then we're billed in units of 10. So it's more based on a billing unit, and like a WebLogic cluster. If you've got 12 servers in your WebLogic cluster, that's only counted as one resource. And so it's based on usage, not on subscribing to a bunch of, different packs, etc.
Yeah, and again, it's a subscribable service. So again, once you're subscribed, as it has new support for new applications, you benefit from that. And again, you can unsubscribe, at any time. So it's not like you've bought a perpetual license that you now own for, ever and ever. Try it out. If it's not meeting your needs, then, you necessarily don't have to, subscribe. People very familiar with the product line, they're wanting to know, Aaron, is it a superset of real experience RUI? And the answer is no on that. One of the things we're doing in our strategy is we're taking some of the best of technology we've had in Enterprise Manager for years, and we're unleashing it as a managed service in the cloud. I think that's the best way to explain it, Aaron, is we're unleashing it because those capabilities now can be used by more people than just DBAs.
Yep, that's fair.
There is one last link. I know there was a link issue going on. If you can, Aaron, if you bring up the URL, I just dropped into the chat for you. Actually, I'm sorry. You're ahead of me. Right there, you've got it. So again, the team continues to also have about 2 blogs a week come out on how to use and customer successes related to our O&M products like stack monitoring. So be sure to follow along the blog site. That's where you'll find the very latest and greatest information.
And once again, if you, I'll put this back up. If you scan this, this will give you a link to both stack monitoring's blogs, observability and management blogs, release notes on what's new. It gives you a link to the live labs. It's a great dropping off spot. We're adding YouTube video links in there shortly. We have a few demonstrations on how we're doing things, and we're putting those out on YouTube, and those links will be all from this single scan that you can do here. So scan that guy and then bookmark it, and it'll give you everything, almost everything you need to know.
The other question, Aaron, we've had come up in sessions like this and just a moment ago is, how does stack monitoring relate to, say, O&M APM, application performance monitoring? And I know one of the things I describe to folks is, in the case of APM, it's really end user oriented monitoring, the user experience, the transactions, and stack monitoring really builds upon that capability and gives me all the different components that are part of these composite applications, all these other elements, the infrastructure that the application is so dependent on. And often people miss because it falls across different roles in the organization.
So Anna had a great explanation for this. She referred to it as kind of like stack monitoring is kind of like your general practitioner. And logging analytics and APM and DBM, et cetera, they're very specialized services. And, if your arm is hurting, you generally don't go straight in for an MRI, or if you have a cough, you don't go for an MRI. You start off with the general practitioner, and they kind of give you a check over of how all of your symptoms and your entire body is working, and then prescribe and go deeper. And that's kind of the same way with stack monitoring. It gives you that essential monitoring of its infrastructure. Is your resource up? Is it down? Are there performance anomalies, et cetera? And then once you're like, ooh, that does seem odd, maybe I need to go jump into APM and dig in. What's my synthetic test looking like, right? And so it's kind of like they layer on very well over the top.
No, I think that's a great explanation and a great way to close out this session. So again, Aaron, thank you so much for the content and subject matter. I know some folks were not able to make it out to Cloud World to hear about this, and hopefully they're heading over to Live Labs to try it out themselves and to, share with other peers. Again, we'll continue as the enterprise manager and observability and management team to bring some more of this type of content out to the user community. And again, we appreciate everyone's time and attending today. And again, of course, Monica, as we hand back over to you and the NYOUG crew, I can't but help from plugging my session that will be coming up shortly here on January 23rd, managing on-premise and cloud databases together from the cloud. So back over to you, Monica.
Awesome. We're excited to have you next week. And Aaron, thank you so much for this hour. It's really special to us, both NYOUG and Viscosity, when we get to have Oracle product managers come out and spend their valuable time with us, answer all the questions. So on behalf of everybody, just thank you so much. And we hope to have you speak again to our group. And Anna, thank you for your time as well. Steve, we'll see you back next Tuesday. Everyone, don't forget to look for an email from NYOUG and Viscosity North America. You'll have links there of how to find the recordings and slide deck. And we'll throw in another link for you to sign up for the next webinar. And we'll also try to grab all of these links that Steve and Anna shared with you. And we'll put those in the email as well. All right. So if no other questions, thank you guys so much. And we'll see you again soon.